What's up, everybody? It is Monday night. It means a little bit more football left in week 8, and then we move on and look forward. Not that we haven't already started. If you've seen the videos that came out last night and today, but let's not let week 8 pass without getting some reaction from our guy Keith, joining us once again this Monday. Thank you for being here once again.
Glad to be here as always.
Going to help answer your questions. And we're going to reminisce over another very interesting Sunday. Chris, I feel like there were a lot of points scored. There were a lot of high-scoring games, so that's good.
Yes.
Just not always in the right places. But overall, it was interesting. We had some players kind of come out of nowhere and put up big games, I feel like.
Yeah, some big out of nowhere games, and of course a lot of tight end big games, because I guess this national tight end thing is just, we have to just accept, like, on National Tight End Day, teams are just going to focus on the tight ends and go after the tight ends. I guess it's just going to be a thing. Every week we know from now on, every year when it's National Tight End Day, start all your tight ends.
I really tried not to make that like a narrative. Apparently, it's going to be a thing, right? It obviously was, because every backup tight end was getting a touchdown. So I don't know. Is this? You think it's like a forced? Is this something that they like put into the game? Yeah, you think it's part of the game plan? Like, hey guys, it's tight ends day. We got to make it happen.
100%. And I don't think it's like, I think people talk about it so much now that coaches and teams are just so aware of it that they're like, hey, let's try to get like we saw that with like the Lions. They got Brock Wright a touchdown, and then they had Monty throw him throw Laporta a touchdown. Like, we saw what both Broncos tight ends scored a touchdown. Like, it's just every team is just trying to get their tight ends a touchdown on National Tight End Day. 100%.
Sure felt that way. That definitely felt forced. Well, good on you, tight ends. Have yourself a day. You at least deserve one. Man, when's it going to be National Running Backs Day? How about that? How about get some running backs going? Maybe wide receivers. I think wide receivers need the help this year, which is what's odd. But anyways, I digress. We're going to talk a little bit about tonight's game, which is Steelers and the Giants. All right, look, these teams are competitive. Playoffs aren't out of the question. At least that's a good thing. Can't say that for every primetime game. So maybe you need somebody to go off tonight. We'll see what your needs are. We'll talk about that. Keith, let me ask you, how do you feel this game is going to go? Steelers, last we saw them, scored a lot of points a week ago with Russ. Do you think that this is a new offense, or you're not a believer yet?
I could see this going one of two ways. I could see Russ either having another big game. The other thing is Russ has always historically been bad against sacks. And the Giants have one of the best D-lines in the NFL. If they get to Russ, maybe a long night for Russ, might be a low-scoring game. But other than that, though, I mean, if Russ manages to stay on his feet, chuck the ball to Pickens a few times, sky's the limit for him.
Yeah, George Pickens, I really hope this is a thing for him going forward. I just really hope, because I want to be able to just start Pickens, no questions asked, the rest of the season. Chris, you feeling good about Pickens tonight?
I mean, you can never feel good about Pickens, but I do need him to give me, I think, 9 fantasy points in one of my leagues tonight. So I'm hopeful he can at least do that.
I would think so. But you never really know. I think he's not quite back into the circle of trust. I think it's going to take.
Not yet. If he has another good game tonight, I think he'll be in the circle of trust. But not yet.
We did have some injuries also to talk about before we get on to tonight's game. I think we got to recap a little bit what did go on yesterday. We had not as many, but the list wasn't as long, but there were a couple of big ones. Now, the one that looked like the biggest was Jordan Love, but now sounded like he might have dodged a bullet. It just so happens they're going to be on a bye week soon, so might just have one more week of Malik Willis, which is really even the worst thing after all. So what does this mean right now as far as the Packers go? I guess we'll go back this week. Keith, what are you thinking of this Packers offense? And are you annoyed enough with it, not knowing who to start, that are we to the point now with like Jaden Reed, Christian Watson. We're just like, I just don't want to deal with it because I feel that way about certain offenses. I felt that way about the Bears receivers most of the year. I wonder if we need to get there with the Packers and just not invest too heavily.
I'd agree with that. The Packers wide receiving group, it's going to be a roulette of who goes off. I mean, that room is so good. So it's always hard to predict who is going to be the guy there. Malik Willis is actually like, if you had asked me at week 1 if I would feel comfortable streaming Malik Willis, absolutely not. But this coming week, if he's starting and it's the Lions, there are worse options out there for sure than Malik Willis. I think he might have a surprising game in him. But yeah, as far as the wide receiving room goes, yeah, it's going to be a headache. It's going to be a bumpy ride pretty much rest of the season.
Yeah. I mean, Chris, are you looking to sell kind of early season, bump that Jaden Reed had, name value, draft where he was drafted, because we already know Wicks is a guy who was just going to basically be a trap every week, right? He's going to get our hopes up. Watson, I don't even know what to think. But Jaden Reed still has that kind of value attached to him. I feel like, are you moving on from him?
Absolutely. Yeah, I actually talk about it in the video that should drop tonight after the game. Like the lessons learned from last week. I just say in there, I'm just done. I'm just done. Like there might even be like 2 or 3 weeks where Jaden Reed goes off and everybody's like, I'm so glad I have Jaden Reed. But what about the other 7 weeks where you wish you didn't start Jaden Reed? And it's not like Jaden Reed has been facing, tough secondaries and tough matchups here. It's just there's too many mouths to feed. He only plays in 3 wide. We talked about this all off season. Like we didn't understand Jaden Reed 5th round ADP. Like because this guy, he only plays in 3 wide receiver sets. He's a slot wide receiver. Like he's not out there running, every route. So, and there's so many good players here, and it's not even the receivers anymore. Now you got Tucker Kraft, you got Josh Jacobs, who's a pass catching weapon out of the backfield. I mean, yeah, like Keith said, on any given week, any one of these guys can pop off, but good luck guessing who it's going to be, and you just got to stick him in your lineup and hope it's this week. I'd rather just move on if I can. I'm not saying sell low, like don't just sell them for anything. But if you can get a good return, like a solid RB or maybe a wide receiver that doesn't give you a heart attack every week, I would do it.
I suppose this would be a good question. Are you selling any of those guys for Calvin Ridley right now?
No, because that's even more. No, I'm not falling for the Calvin Ridley trap. Okay, this was like the perfect storm of the Detroit Lions having to throw a bunch. Nah, you talk about trap. I think Calvin Ridley's going to be the biggest trap.
Yeah, well, it's funny because to me, I think the number one lesson learned, just personally on the season so far, is just don't believe anything the coaches say at all, ever, because they specifically, and we know now it was intentional. When the Titans OC went out of his way to say, we're not going to force the ball at Calvin Ridley anymore. We're just going to, stop making sure to target him. So they only targeted him on the first drive. In the first quarter, he already had 8 targets. So all this misdirection, all this, Puka he can barely walk, I don't even know if he'll make it to the stadium. And then they throw it to him like his career high target rate. No, just enough. Whatever they say, I'm going to do the opposite. And I think it's going to turn out better. Just enough of this, just blatant lying by coaches. No bitterness. Big injuries though. What about Stefon Diggs? Also need to talk about this. I haven't heard anything official come out today. Have you?
No, this is. Oh, go ahead, Keith, if you want to take this one.
Yeah, there's been nothing coming out on Stefon Diggs. They want to run more tests. I mean, the fact that they want to say more tests probably means he's out this week. Beyond that, who knows? But if it is something long-term, I wonder if they enter the Deontay Johnson sweepstakes.
Yeah, that's actually a good point because we did hear what was the report that Deontay Johnson expected to be traded within the week or something like that. So not a shock after he suddenly missed week 8 with a new injury, kind of like Devontae Adams. But
yeah, to the appendicitis.
Right, exactly. The thing, all the Twitter, I know all the Twitter doctors, but basically everything I've read is from all of them is either meniscus or ACL. Now, ACL, of course, we know that's honestly at this stage of his career might be, if not career ending, very career altering. Meniscus, there's a chance, depending. Of course, it depends on what it is. Like we had with JJ McCarthy, right? If it's just a meniscus, what are they? I think there's either a repair or a fix. I don't know. There's a difference. I'm not a Twitter doctor, obviously, but one of them is surgery, season over. The other one is maybe 4 to 6 weeks. But yeah, almost certainly not going to have Stefon Diggs this week at a minimum.
Yeah, it's tough because they're still waiting for Nico to come back, and he will come back soon. But as soon as, like before that even happens, losing Diggs. So it'd be a tough blow. But we'll see. I don't know. I feel like the stalling and the waiting and more tests. More tests doesn't mean better news. It just means we're trying to delay the inevitable bad news. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. And then it is worst case for Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk is definitely done for the season. And then BTJ, I saw 2 things today. I saw, it's probably going to be like 2 to 4 weeks. And then I saw, the MRI or something was negative, and he's actually okay. It's probably somewhere in between here. But Keith, what's your take on that?
Ribs, for the most part, are typically a pain issue. If the MRI turned up nothing, they're not broken. So my thinking is it's a pain management issue. He might be out this week, but honestly hard to say. But if I had to put money on it, I'd say he's going to be a game time decision this week, and then going forward, he should be fine.
Well, that's reassuring. Do you think that this Kirk being out, not that he was getting so many targets, but does this make BTJ actually not only maybe a possible buy low if he does miss a week, or people worried about the injury, but do you think his stock goes up now because there's more targets out there?
Not sure, because Christian Kirk was always kind of a reliable guy to get some targets and prevent defenses from zeroing in on either Evan Engram or BTJ. So I don't think there's going to be any boost to BTJ's production after this or with the injury. But I was going to say this could be a long season for the Jaguars, though. They're 2-6. T-Law hasn't been performing particularly great. They've got a rough schedule coming up. Could be dicey for him. But, I don't see any major production boost for BTJ. I think he's going to be what he's always been. He's been pretty damn good already, so outlook really hasn't changed on him whatsoever.
Yeah, I think the guy who actually might benefit is Evan Engram. I saw the stat over the last 2 seasons, when Christian Kirk is out of the lineup, he's the one who's actually really benefited. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think Christian Kirk affects Brian Thomas any. It's not like Christian Kirk, they're 2 totally different wide receivers, and it's not like Christian Kirk was getting a ton of targets. But I think we will see what little amount of targets Christian Kirk was getting go more to Evan Engram, because those guys play kind of similar roles, they both play out of the slot. They both run those shorter kind of over the middle routes. So I think Evan Engram might get the boost here, but like Keith said, I don't know if it's a big boost for anybody really. Except maybe your fantasy team. It might be a big boost for your fantasy team because you don't have to decide if you're playing Christian Kirk this week or the rest of the season or not.
One more mediocre flex you don't have to consider.
Yes.
But deeper leagues, I think Parker Washington might be worth a pickup. Deeper leagues and dynasty only, though.
Right. And what's interesting is that after everybody, all the receivers for Jags got injured yesterday, but after specifically the Kirk one, it was the backup tight end, Brenton Strange, who all of a sudden benefited. He was the one who got more targets. Now you think he might get somewhat involved. They might have to. If BTJ is out, Kirk's already out, they might have to try some more 2 tight end sets, but agree. I think I don't know if there's any winners in Jacksonville these days. That's just kind of the bottom line there in that offense. All right, well, let's get to your questions and do some people talking about that, losing Kirk, losing guys like that. Don't forget, before tonight, if you do need help with your lineups, we'll help you out. Let us know what your questions are. Help yourself out by getting this free pick. Russell Wilson just getting 1 yard. Take the higher and 0.5 total yards. You get this if you do what everyone else is doing and join Underdog. It's, I want to say, the fastest growing sports site out there. I don't have any statistics to back that up, but it's got to be true. I feel like it's true. I see it everywhere now, on billboards, on TV and commercials. It's everywhere. So if you haven't tried Underdog, then do it now and get the free pick. You still have 1, 2, 3, 4. If you include tonight, 4 days left of Boosttober to get those profit boosts throughout the month of October. And you also still get that deposit match, 50% deposit match up in your very first one, up to $1,000 worth of bonus cash. But you have to use code ENDGAME to get your special pick plus the bonus cash. So check it out now if you haven't already. All sorts of good stuff on there. And let's talk about tonight. Got many questions. Good evening, by the way. Good evening, Boomer.
What's up, Boomer?
He's up by 29. Opponent has Pickins and Warren. ESPN's algorithm. You agree with that? 29 points for Pickins and Warren. I don't know. That seems pretty steep.
Yeah, it depends if Pickins has a big game or not. If Pickins, what is Warren? Okay, maybe Warren can get 9. Assuming Warren doesn't score a cheap touchdown, which anybody can score a cheap touchdown, right? Assuming he doesn't score a cheap touchdown, he can get 9. That means Pickens needs 20, which is a pretty big game. So I think I think it's probably more like 55-45 your side.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. ESPN always puts running backs way too high for their projections, so I'm guessing they probably have Warren at somewhere between 11 and 15 points. Yeah, which makes sense. It's 29. Pickens, I think, could be boom bust. But yeah, 29, I don't see Warren scoring. Unless he gets a cheapo touchdown, I don't see Warren scoring anything more than what you said, 8 or 9. And Pickens, he would need a big, big game. And honestly, the Giants' defense has been playing well. I don't see that happening.
I don't see it happening. I think even with a decently big game from Pickens, I don't know. It's possible for multiple Steelers to go off. Anyways, I think you're good, Boomer. So probably just kick back and relax for this one. Other John. All right, we talked about Kirk being out for the year. AR took himself out of a play when he was tired. That wasn't his biggest issue, I don't think, yesterday. Yeah, it was interesting. That's every week is just some sort of a different angle of weirdness for NFL. Yeah, on to next week. All right, Samantha Pfluger. Welcome, Samantha. So she's up by 26. The opponent has Neighbors. Could Neighbors have one of those games against the Steelers, Keith?
Well, Samantha, I'll be rooting with you because I am going up against the Neighbors share and Neighbors and Tracy, actually, and I need them to score 24 or less. If they get less than 24, I'm good. If I score more than that, I am going to be the second highest scorer in the league that week and lose. So just one of those things. But 26 from Neighbors, this is Daniel Jones we're talking about here against the Steelers defense. I don't think so.
Yeah, we know he can do it because we've seen him do it, but tonight against the Steelers, I'd be shocked if he goes for 26, unless he has one of a CeeDee Lamb game like we saw last night where in the fourth quarter, if somehow the Steelers are blowing him out, which I doubt that, and then in the fourth quarter, the defense decides they don't need to cover Malik Neighbors anymore, and he gets those. How many points did CeeDee Lamb get in the fourth quarter last night? 25 fantasy points. It's crazy, but yeah, 26 against the Steelers. Joey Porter Jr. I don't think so.
It's in Pittsburgh too, so I just don't see this happening.
Yeah, I would say you're probably good, but you never know. There are a few players who you feel like could just have that monster week. Not to scare you or anything. Neighbors could, but still, I think you have a very good shot. And then Mary Jo, welcome back. Up by 9.9. And so the opponent only has Pittsburgh's defense. There's probably no worse way than losing on Monday night to a defense. So really pulling for you. Not that we wouldn't pull for you anyways, but yeah. I don't know how to answer this because I have no idea. Defensive scoring is totally random right across every league. There is no way to know how many points is good for defense. But I mean, Pittsburgh does have a good defense.
And it is Daniel Jones.
It is Daniel Jones, yes. Well, we definitely are going to be rooting for you.
We'll be rooting for you.
Best of luck.
All right, we need to talk Brian off the ledge here. Brian Ferman, although do we? Rage dropping Stroud. Keith,
Why
what
not?
do you think?
What? Go ahead, Keith. I'll let you take it.
So I am okay if you want to pick up a second quarterback and keep Stroud on your bench for when Nico comes back. I think once Nico returns, I think Stroud is going to be at least capable and startable in one QB leagues. But I don't know if I necessarily want to rub Caleb. Bo Nix, I like. Bo Nix, I like. He's going up against Baltimore. But, yeah, if you want to start somebody over Stroud this week, I am more than fine with it. He's been pretty disappointing for a single QB league. Yeah, I would start Stafford over him too as well. Yeah, Stroud is just not a guy I would be, especially if it's just Tank Dell and he's got no Diggs and no Nico. I think Stroud's going to struggle.
Yeah, I mean, he's been struggling. I talked about it a little bit last night in the panic video. He's only top 20. He's only reached 20 fantasy points in your 4-point passing touchdown league one time all year. In half his games, he's gone 15 or less, which is like, come on, you can get that off the waiver wire every week. I would definitely go Bo Nix over him this week. Probably not Caleb Williams. Even though it is the Cardinals, I don't know if I want to go Bo Nix, but there's a lot of quarterbacks I would start over CJ Stroud this week. And almost, we know he's not going to have Nico. He's like 99.99999% not going to have Diggs. Like, is Xavier Hutchinson and Tank Dell going to be enough? Like, he's going to need like two, a receiving touchdown or a passing touchdown to Dell, and then hope like he throws a little screen pass to Mixon and Mixon houses it for him to really have any value. Why even risk it? Just go Knicks. Yeah, against the Ravens, I would just go Knicks right now for sure. And like I said, Keith, if Stafford's out there, I would go Stafford probably over all of
Oh
them.
yeah, Stafford I think is as I mentioned in the waiver video, he's the best pickup right now or streamer. If you're looking for a quarterback, I'm fine with it. I'm disappointed. I thought Stroud would go off this week against that Indy defense at home. Didn't happen. And it wasn't just Diggs getting hurt because that didn't happen right away or anything. Sure that might have affected it, but like the yardage was good, but only one touchdown. He's not having big games, period. And he really should have and could have, especially as bad as Anthony Richardson was throwing the ball, had plenty of chances. So yeah, no Diggs. On the road against the Jets, there's really no reason to start him. All right, what about this one? Dawn, welcome back, Dawn. Jordan Mason, is it time to drop him between getting hurt, having the bye week, and then CMC coming back? Chris, are you going there? Or do you still think is there even trade value now? I guess is the question.
Well, no, there's no more trade value. That you missed the window to trade him, but at the same time, I don't really want to drop Jordan Mason. Okay, yeah, he got a little banged up again last night, but now they have the bye week. CMC will be back. Like, he still, to me, is one of the premium handcuffs out there. There's no guarantee. First of all, what they're saying about CMC right now is they're going to ramp him up this week. They're going to work him hard, and if everything's good, he'll be ready to go for week 10. We don't know. What if everything's not good? What if they ramp him up and it's like, oh, wait, it's not good. Nope, he needs more time. Also, what if he comes back and re-aggravate something or whatever? I know Garendo looked good last time, but you know what the big issue for Isaac Garendo is? He's horrible in pass protection. He almost that, honestly, I don't know if you guys were watching the game last night. I'm sure you were, in that fourth quarter when the Cowboys had come back, that great sack on Brock Purdy. The fact that Brock Purdy didn't fumble that ball and possibly fumble away the game was incredible. But that was because Isaac Garendo completely whiffed on that block, just whiffed. He is an absolute liability, and the 49ers know this. There's a reason why he hasn't been touching the ball until he has to. I do think if Jordan Mason is healthy, he is the backup, no doubt about it. I'm not dropping him just because CMC might be back.
Yeah, I agree with that. Jordan Mason's now slots as one of the best handcuffs in the league again. And, I mean, there's nothing saying that CMC won't get hurt either. Like, he won't have a setback in practice or even down the line. might go into a game, bam, he's hurt, and then suddenly Mason's back to being a league winner. I would not, if you're in a hole and you have Jordan Mason, I mean, maybe you could flip him from like one out of a two-piece backfield, like maybe like Bucky Irving or something along those lines if you're desperate. But I honestly would rather keep Mason if I've got him. Maybe you can extort the CMC owner for a little something because I'm sure they're nervous too. But yeah, do not drop him. Do not drop him.
Right. I think you got to look at it this way. He goes now to, obviously, because the bye, but also maybe CMC goes to being unstartable. Doesn't mean he has to be dropped because there's such a thing as a stash, right? Handcuffs are always valuable, even when you least expect it. So there you go. Moises, welcome. Started Mason. A lot of us did. Benched Auden. Okay. Need a miracle from neighbors tonight? It's possible. So we just talked about this, dropping Mason. We're saying don't do it. But I think, assuming you could drop somebody else, how much fab to get guys like Cedric Tillman and Matt Stafford? So I guess we'll just focus on that part.
I wouldn't go too crazy for Stafford. Even though I like Stafford, like I'm never going to go too crazy for a QB. If you're desperate, like if you have, I don't even know who you'd have. Like we have had very few QB injuries. Yeah, maybe if you have Jordan Love, but even still, I mean, if Jordan Love misses, okay, let's say he misses this week, which you probably will, and then the bye week, you're talking about like a 2-week rental for Stafford. You don't want to go crazy here for a 2-week rental. I don't know, maybe $3 to $5, assuming like $100 budget, $3 to $5 for Stafford. If I don't get him, I'll just grab somebody else. I mean, obviously it depends again, like who's available on your waiver wire. But if there's other quarterbacks I feel fine about, I probably wouldn't even bid anything on Stafford. I would just take whatever quarterback I get. Tillman looking like a strong pickup. I will say though, even though look, Tillman, Pierre can attest to this. I think I might have been the only person talking about Tillman this offseason. Now, I wasn't talking about him in redraft leagues. I was talking about him as like a last round, 18th round best ball pick. And I looked like a fool for many weeks until Jameis Winston started. But Jameis Winston is starting. But I will say they don't get the Bucs. Not going to get the Ravens every week. And this week is the Chargers. Then they do get a nice matchup against the Saints. But then they get the Steelers. Then they get the Broncos. Then they get the Steelers. Then they get the Chiefs. Like we might have seen the best week of Cedric Tillman, and that's coming from the biggest Cedric Tillman truther there was this year. So I wouldn't go too crazy on Tillman either. Maybe like 15% max if you really need a wide receiver.
I was thinking of a number in my head, and 15 was the number I was coming up with for Tillman. Yeah, I like that number. And pretty much like everything you said, I do think the NFL owes a big old apology to Jameis Winston. Oh, Deshaun Watson's going to help us win. Yeah, no, he's not. The answer was Winston. He looked good this week. He does have a tougher matchup this coming week, but I think you have to be encouraged from what you saw from Cedric Tillman. I think he is going to be a guy you want to have in Cleveland, not only now, but rest of the season. I mean, he's going to have some struggles against some tough defenses for sure, but is a flex option or wide receiver 3, I think he's going to be just fine.
Yeah. Right. And did caution, did talk about him last week as a waiver wire pickup. So hopefully everyone out there got him in time. If not, understandable. But I did caution for this week. Like you said, tough matchup, much tougher compared to what he had to deal with last week. And then they're on bye, and then the schedule is not the greatest. So just don't go overboard. Yes, he's still worth picking up, but don't go crazy. Not necessarily a league winner, I would say. All right, Juice, let's give him his due here. Yeah, what about Marvin Harrison deciding to show up finally? What is up with that? Was this just one of those games where he goes off and then he's going to go back to being, mediocre again? Was this Kyler getting fired up by all the criticism? What is this? Just the Dolphins not being good on defense? Chris, what do you think this was? How do we explain Harrison going off? It's like he's basically becoming boom bust at this point, which is not what we expected.
He is, but I will say the one thing, the encouraging thing here, now it's just one game and you always got to like you want to see it more than once. But most of this year, and I talked about this, I think a couple of weeks ago, they were just having him run a lot of vertical routes, a lot of deep, routes. This week, for whatever reason, I don't know, and maybe it was a return of Zay Jones, honestly, because I think they put Zay Jones in that like pure X receiver role. I could be wrong on that. But they had Marvin Harrison running a lot more horizontal breaking routes this week, a lot more of those easy, quick in-breaking routes, those easier throws for Kyler, easier throws for every QB, honestly. And it worked. So I'm going to hope that they keep doing that. So I think I don't feel like this is a trap. I feel like, okay, the Cardinals made an adjustment and it worked, and they're hopefully smart enough to keep doing it.
Yeah, I haven't done quite that level of analysis or read any articles as far as Marvin Harrison goes, but that does make sense. I know they've been using him as like a pure alpha X receiver, and I mean, as a rookie, he's pretty much being thrown in the ocean and told to swim, and that may not work out for rookies. So if they have made this adjustment, this is going to be how they operate going forward, then I like it for Marvin Harrison. He's definitely I wouldn't sell him yet unless you get a really, really good offer. But yeah, I feel your pain. I benched him for Jordan Mason this week. Yeah, that's not a league I'm winning.
We'll see. I mean, the talent is not the question. He's got a good quarterback, so. But we had to see it. I don't feel like. Not starting Marvin Harrison was a big mistake. He had been doing nothing. There's a reason why we were out on him, but we'll see. We'll see if it keeps up. And speaking of both those players, LEJ End saying he did trade Jordan Mason to get Marvin Harrison. All right,
nice.
All right.
That's
if you had suggested that, I think we would have said yes. But all right, being 6-2, there we go. That's how you do it. Short season, trying to get another RB to pair with Walker, have a lot of receivers to give. Oh, yeah, that's a lot of receivers. All right, so who to target here? He's saying Jones, Jacobs, or a Cook.
I would take any of them, honestly. I would take any of them. I think if I could trade, if I could sell high on Jaden Reed and get, say, Aaron Jones coming off a not so great game, or I would absolutely do that. But I think I would trade any of these wide receivers except Amon-Ra St. Brown for any of these running backs, honestly.
I would agree. I think I'd hold Waddle because I think better days are ahead for him. Debo as well, I think I'd rather hang on to. And Garrett Wilson looks like he might be the alpha for over Devontae Adams at the moment. But yeah, DJ Moore is going to boom bust all year. Same with Jaden Reed. If you guy can sell one of those with pair with Walker. Oh, so still trying to get another running back to pair with Walker. So are you giving up a receiver with Walker to get one of these guys? Because I'm not sure I'm selling Walker.
I think he's saying Walker is RB1. Walker's his RB1.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, that makes a lot more sense. Alrighty. Yeah, I am very okay with trading any of those guys for one of those running backs for sure. I would try and hang on to St. Brown, Debo, and Waddle, but yeah, and Garrett Wilson. Sell Reed, sell DJ Moore.
Yeah, I think Reed is the one that makes the most sense here. Still has some value, even though he didn't have a big game. I still think he has that name value. People remembering where they drafted him, assuming he's the number one receiver in Green Bay, whatever that means these days. And yeah, it's tough to get Jacobs or Cook, both coming off of huge days. But hey, you never know, right? You never know what people are willing to do. Someone's looking for a wide receiver. Michael Cazares wants to know, rest of the season, Bucky, Madison, or Tracy. And I'm hoping this isn't for your RB2 spot. I'm hoping this is like your last bench spot. But Keith, who of those, if you had to hold one rest of the season, who would it be?
Bucky, I think he's interesting right now because Bucky Otten and Rachaad White all three of them had a good amount of targets this week. It doesn't look like any of the receivers in Tampa are going to step up. Now, if they win the Deontay Johnson sweepstakes, that could change. But I like the involvement Bucky's been having, and he's been getting passes. So I'm, especially in the PPR format, not sure if it's going to get any better. Madison, he's on a bad offense. Sure, he's the lead, but I'm not exactly holding my breath on a breakout from him. Tracy, he might get better as the season goes on, but without an injury to Singletary and not to mention Daniel Jones, yeah, I think Bucky has the best ceiling out of these three.
Well, I'm going to shock everybody and myself and say Madison, even though I do like Bucky, but my issue with Bucky is I think we got a good idea of how this backfield is going to work on Sunday. Like Bucky, it's pretty much what we expected. Okay, Sean Tucker, that was fun. Like we did a little Sean Tucker experiment. Okay, well, fine. He's out, right? Seven snaps. We're going to see Bucky as the early down back and Rachaad White as the third down pass catching back. But the bad thing here for Bucky, even though he looks great, like Bucky looks great. Like if Rachaad White was out of the picture, it would be Bucky by a mile. The issue here is this Tampa Bay defense is terrible, and there's probably going to be a lot of games where they're having to throw the ball a lot and not being able to run the ball a lot, which is still okay for Bucky. He had 7 targets yesterday. But again, on like third and long and those obvious third down passing downs, it's Rachaad White that's out there. I get that Madison is Alexander. I get that he's Alexander Madison, and I get that he's on the Raiders. But the reason why I like him is because, yeah, he is the unquestioned bell cow there. But he gets Bengals, Dolphins. Okay, then he does get Broncos, Chiefs, 2 tough matchups. But then he finishes the year with Bucks, Falcons, Jaguars, Saints. I feel like Alexander Madison might be pretty good the rest of the season. And he gets all the touches there. So I'm actually going to say Madison right now over Bucky and shock even myself.
Yeah, I'm not going to shock myself with that. I know I usually say when it comes to running backs, touches, opportunities are kind of that tiebreaker. And I know Madison is definitely the lead guy there. But man, I got to take a guy on what I think they're the third highest scoring offense, Tampa Bay, versus the Raiders. And the Raiders, for what it's worth, a lot of their points came in the first couple of games. And no, I just a running back on a bad offense is usually not a good recipe. So I know he'll get just through sheer volume some points, but I think Bucky's just clearly better. He's in a better offense. I think I would take the downgrade in touches just to get the upgrade in that offensive context. And if something does happen to Rachaad White, I mean, then maybe you do have a league winner on your hands with Bucky. Yeah, I don't think it really matters if Zamir White exists or not for Alexander Madison. He's already a non-factor. So I know Madison does have value, but man, I've got to go Bucky on this one. Vincent Glennon. Pickins Stevenson. Who's the first one? What is it supposed to be?
I don't know.
Hoyce?
Okay. We have to decipher that one. So somebody Pickins and Stevenson for Hill Richardson.
All right. So this is basically whoever COIS is. Kirk Cousins, somebody is saying maybe Kirk Cousins, since there is a QB here.
I was going to say Cousins makes sense with that spelling.
Okay. So Cousins for Richardson. I mean, definitely give me Cousins. Richardson, no thank you. So this is basically, for me, okay, so Vincent is saying yes, it's Kirk Cousins. Okay. This is basically Pickens and Stevenson for Tyreek Hill, because let's be real. Kirk Cousins, if I have Kirk Cousins, I may roll with him all year, but I may not. Like if he has a tough matchup, I may just drop him and pick up somebody else. I'm not gonna be like married to Kirk Cousins. So this is basically Pickens and Stevenson for Tyreek Hill. We haven't even talked about how disappointing the return of Tua was for our Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle teams that we had been waiting all season for. And then it was like, oh, that's it. But we got to think it gets better, right? We got to think it gets better.
Yeah, Tua's always
still
started
got
slow off of injury or off of bye week. So Pickens and
I think
Stevenson. I do think
gotta still
Stevenson
think
is. I do think
Go ahead.
Stevenson is a sell high candidate right now. So if I can get if I'm selling Pickens and Stevenson for Hill, I'll take that and run all day.
Yeah.
Nothing is going to make me trade for Anthony Richardson. We don't even know if he's starting this week. And frankly, he shouldn't be. I mean, the dude is throwing at a historically bad completion percentage. Jamarcus Russell, better. Tim Tebow, better. It is painful for Richardson right now. Yeah, give me Tyreek Hill here, and Richardson can be an afterthought. Just drop him.
Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I mostly agree with that. I view Stevenson. I don't think he's a so high. I kind of view Stevenson as a still buy while I have a chance kind of player. So I think this is a fair package, but for the most part, you don't have to say, okay, I got Cousins now, set and forget. I agree with that. So I think this could work both ways, to be honest. In general, I'd rather have Hill, though. You want that one guy who's going to give you massive upside every week.
The reason I'm not so high on Stevenson is he's not going to play the Jets every single week. And he's also not going to be scoring 2 touchdowns every single week either. And the Patriots' schedule going forward is pretty rough. They get the Titans and the Bears the next 2 weeks. And then after that, I don't know off the top of my head. But, yeah, it's going to be bumpy for Stevenson for the next couple of weeks. If you need a winner right now, and Hill will give you much, much more upside.
There you go. All right, let's get to Dustin Forsberg. A week with no worries, thanks to Lamb, Pitts, Tillman, and Achane. Well, Achane did benefit from the return of Tua. That's clear.
Yes.
Hopefully, he'll continue the rest of the season. Yeah, that's the hope. All right, what about Alexis? Any word on Pacheco? Okay, Collins we know should be back. What about Pacheco?
Yeah, I guess he's running on a treadmill, and they're eyeing a November return. So I think this is week 5 of the 6 to 8 week timeline. So I think it might be about time to start trying to go put out some feelers on Pacheco and see if you can get him on the cheap.
Yeah, Pacheco's sitting on a roster right now that's looking at 2-6, 3-7, maybe 1-7, or 3-5 or 1-7. Definitely make some offers, see what you can get for Pacheco. Only a little bit of concern just because who knows how much metal is in Pacheco's leg right now, and we don't know how involved Kareem Hunt will be once he returns. But Hunt doesn't scare me. We're already seeing his efficiency drop a little bit, and I think that's going to continue rest of the season. So, go buy Pacheco if possible.
There you go. But buy low. Only buy low.
Yeah.
You still got a player
You
who's
have to
not
be,
coming.
and I will say you have to be a team. You can't be like Keith said. You can't be the 2-6 team, or you're the 3-5 team.
3-5, 1-7. Yeah.
You got to be at least 500 right now or better, because you might still be 2 to 3 weeks without Pacheco. So you have to be okay, knowing you're not getting points for Pacheco for potentially 2 to 3 more weeks. So don't go do this if you're like, I need to win this week. Don't go trading for Pacheco.
Right. So speaking of, he is up 13, but the op has Wandale and Boswell. Quite the duo. Can he pull it off with his whack team?
I feel like 13 is probably what these guys will get.
Yeah, the only chance I think you have is if this is a standard league. Wandale is actually wide receiver 18 on the year in PPR league. So, Wandale might get that on his own if it's full PPR. So, I'll be rooting for you, but prepare for disappointment.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Hey, you never know. Anything's possible. Well, maybe not anything. I don't know, Jesse. Down by 60. They got one player on the Giants, not even the league neighbor. He didn't even say who it was, just a player.
I know, like, if it's like, I don't even know who it is, but if it's not Malik Neighbors, I don't know about this. Even with Malik Neighbors, I don't know if I like their chances, Jesse.
Yeah.
Has any fantasy player ever scored 60 points? I don't
think so. I think we've had like high 50s, but I don't think we've ever had 60.
Yeah. Not without any bonuses anyway.
Well, yeah. I mean, some like Marcus's league, guys score like 100.
100 points per attack.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an insane league. All right, Serge is leading by 30. Got the Steelers defense. He is Pickens, Boswell. Yes, I think we can all say yes to this one.
Yeah, I mean, I hate ever using the word safe in fantasy football because are you ever really safe in fantasy football? Like that team where I need Pickens to score 9 tonight, I had like a huge lead going into last night, and then CeeDee Lamb got 40 points, all of them in the fourth quarter, and it's like, oh, now I need instead of like I was like, oh, I'm going to win this league no matter what. Now I'm like, oh, now I need Pickens to get 9. Like you're never safe, but yeah, you should be feeling good.
Yeah, Steelers defense and Boswell, I think, cancel each other out pretty well. If anything, the Steelers defense will outscore Boswell. And then you've got Pickens. I don't see him getting 30 tonight.
No, even if Pickens goes off, I will say if it was flipped, like if you had the kicker and he had the defense, then I'd be more nervous because, sometimes defenses could have insane games, right? A pick six, 5 sacks, and they're playing Daniel Jones, right? Yeah. Then I'd be nervous, but you have the Steelers defense. So I think you're as safe as you can get. All right. John Wickering is back. I think he's safe because he said he's about to put up over 200 points, even though Ladd was on the bench, and he somehow still has 3 people tonight. We did see your second super chat, and I hope you heard us say thank you many times. We appreciate you, John.
Yeah, thank you, and congrats. Awesome.
Yeah. And there was of course, Ladd McConkey. Boomer did chime in. He was like, oh, do I go Ladd? Do I go Tillman? Do I go Downs? And they all went off. So it didn't really matter. But at least your boy went off, Ladd McConkey.
Yes.
All right, what about J.R. Fuentes? Got a trade offer here. Gets Cup, gives up Connor.
I think this is very fair. I think this is a very fair running back for wide receiver trade here. I know Connor didn't boom this week the way I expected, but he wasn't terrible. He still gets all the run in that offense. He's mostly been good. And I do feel like Cup will still be very good. But man, the fact that Puka came in basically last minute off of injury and just led the team in targets and first read percentage, I think it's going to be how we expected it to be this offseason, where Puka is clearly the number 1 here, and Kupp is just like a high-end wide receiver 2, kind of like a Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle type of guy in this offense. So I think this is very fair.
Yeah, that Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith comp, very, very accurate. Yeah, the trade's fair, and looking at what your lineup will be, I like it. Or counter off with Shakir and Hunt for Kupp. Sure. Like that a little bit less, obviously, than a just straight Kupp for Connor. But yeah, if you got to throw in Shakir, I don't hate it either. Oh, and keep Connor.
Well, I mean, I guess you have to instead of Connor to give up Hunt and then throw in Shakir.
If you can do Shakir and Hunt for Kupp, I would definitely prefer that.
100% do that.
Yeah. And I think just in general, this is good to do because you're saying I will have Kupp, and then you have Hill, Shakir, and Robinson. So if you don't have Kupp, does that mean Khalil Shakir is your number 2 receiver? If the answer is yes, then you need to get Cooper Kupp, I think. I mean, Shakir is fine, but we need a little more upside there. And you have Kyron, you have K9, you have Hunt. So, man, is that – look, I just have to say, JR, if that's all you got at receiver, if Wandale would then be your number 3, maybe you need to keep Shakir, actually, now to think about it. But either way, I think getting Kupp is a good idea. Stephen Cotto. Warren, worth picking up, and drop Pearsall. Of course, San Fran does have a bye next week. Jennings, he's got Jennings. Jennings, I would hope, would be back by week 10. What do you think of that move, Keith?
I've always kind of been a little low on Warren, and with the running backs that although You got. Yeah, I don't see any format where Warren really adds anything to your lineups. You have A-Chain, you have Swift, you have CMC and Mason, so whichever San Francisco running back you want. So you've got 3 guys, and yeah, all of them have already had their bye. So yeah, you're only starting Warren if things have gone very, very wrong for you. Your wide receivers, I mean, so Devonta Smith, Flowers, DJ Moore down, Brian Thomas, it's also the same thing there. So this is really a bench depth move. It's a lateral if I had to say on this team. I'd do it. I'd pick up Warren over Pearsall. Your wide receiver room is even more stacked than your running back room.
Yeah, you might need running back more, but like Keith, I just never Warren. I don't know. This just feels like quantity over quality. And look, Pearsall may never do anything this year, but at least I feel like Pearsall has the potential. Like, what is Warren's potential? I mean, he really needs a Najee Harris injury, and like knock on wood, but I don't think Najee Harris has missed a game since like his sophomore year of college. Say whatever you want about Najee as a running back, the dude is insanely durable. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm just probably going to keep Pearsall just only because Warren just does nothing for him.
Exactly. I'd say you can drop Pearsall and maybe pick up somebody else more interesting.
Yeah, I don't want to rather pick up like a Braylon Allen or a Ray Davis. Or
scan the waiver wire for a better handcuff.
Yeah. Exactly. What's up, Anthony? It has been a crazy season. I know we feel like we say that every week, and it keeps getting crazier. That's all we can do is set our lineups and hope for good luck. I'm guessing he didn't pull out a victory this week. That's what I'm guessing.
Guessing he faced a lot of Kate Otten.
Phenomenal. This is it's a good question. Chris, is it crazy to drop Etienne? Obviously, no one's trading for him, but are you cutting ties?
Can't just outright drop Etienne yet. Let's at least wait for him to come back from injury and see what his role is. Because again, remember, I mean, you don't want to just give up on players, like good players in fantasy, because we've given up this year. We gave up on players like Mark Andrews. We gave up completely on Mark Andrews, and now you wish you didn't give up on Mark Andrews. Who are some? I don't know. I'm sure there's many I'm not even thinking about that people were after like 2 or 3 weeks. People were like, he's a bust. He's a bust. Get rid of this guy. And then you're like, whoops, I wish I didn't get rid of that guy. So a player as good as Etienne, I can't just cut Etienne. I get it that no one wants to trade for him, because why would anybody want to trade for him? But what if you cut him and then he's back, let's say this week or next week, whenever he's back, and then he's the lead back again, getting all the touches, and you're like, oh, what have I done? I'm not cutting it.
Yeah, it would have to be a really, really shallow, like 8-man league with a small bench for me to even consider this. Etienne, so even if Etienne is coming back to a split workload with Tank Bigsby, he's still going to be the pass catching back. They're not going to suddenly pivot to Dearness Johnson to be catching passes out of that backfield. And not to mention, with Christian Kirk being out, that might actually open up some wide receiver or catching opportunities for the running back. So, I'm not dropping Etienne just yet. If no one will trade for him, they're a loss.
Yeah, and it wasn't even Dearness Johnson, who I actually liked, and I picked him up in our best ball league. It wasn't even Dearness Johnson as a pass catching back yesterday. It was I forget who he even was. Yeah, I think at the minimum, Etienne will be the pass catching back, which is going to have value because the Jags are terrible and they're going to have to throw the ball a lot.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. The Jags, especially now, those receiver injuries are going to continue to legit be terrible. But still, Etienne has upside. I mean, we say stash guys like, Ray Davis and players like that, keep Jordan Mason. You can keep a guy like Etienne, who's probably just as talented, not more talented than those players, and still will have a role. Cody Greenwood, sliding 6-game losing streak. That's not good. All right, so here's the question. Is it CJ Stroud's fault? And run with Kyler Murray for the season. Well, we already talked about Stroud. I guess probably on board with this, huh?
Yeah, I'm definitely on board with that.
If you got Stroud, you got Murray. I consider you streaming quarterback at this point. I don't want to start Kyler Murray this week against the Bears defense. Sure, like they gave up big, like occasional big plays to Jaden Daniels this week. Bears defense is going to be pissed. They're going to be angry. I think Kyler Murray is going to be in for a rough day. I would not be looking at either of these guys for a 1 QB starter. Go look at Knicks. Go look at Stafford. Get somebody else and just ride one of these guys on your bench.
Well, we'll say Kyler did look a little better as a passer. Harrison, finally, they did a smart thing, like you mentioned, Chris, have him do a little bit more horizontal route running. And I think Kyler's fine. I mean, I don't know who you might be able to stream. I swear, Cody, unless this was a different team, I think he was the one who had Mahomes and kept wanting to trade Mahomes. And I think he traded Mahomes to get Stroud, I want to say. I could be wrong. Anyways, I think you're fine with Murray. Sure. The question is, can you drop Stroud? I think you can. Brother Pickle. Welcome, Brother Pickle. Sell high on Tillman.
Yes, I was actually going when we talked about Tillman earlier when somebody asked, I think it was Miguel, was it Moises, asked about how much fab to drop. I was like, I would be trying to sell high on Tillman right now. I mean, again, I like Tillman. I think Tillman's a good player. I thought last year Tillman was a far better prospect than Jalen Hyatt, like far and away a better prospect than Jalen Hyatt last year. But he does have a really brutal schedule, and it is still Jameis Winston. And, Jameis Winston, okay, sure, he can do what he did yesterday, but that was the Ravens. We're talking about literally the worst secondary, not to mention they were missing like 3 of their top defensive backs in that game. I mean, he was basically playing like barely an NFL level secondary, and it took 2 huge, fourth quarter touchdowns for him to go off like that. This is the kind of guy, as much as I like Tillman this year, this is the exact kind of guy I am selling high. 100%.
Yeah, as long as you're selling high. Because, the schedule for Tillman is definitely on the rough side. If somebody truly, truly believes in him, sweet. But, just make sure you actually are selling high and aren't getting like an RB handcuff with it. Taking your package with an RB, 216 is a lot of flowers.
I mean, I don't want Ford or Eckler.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Right. I mean, you can't go too high. You're not going to be able to get.
Oh wait, he's saying he's thinking of packaging 216 for Olave Flowers. Well, I wouldn't trade for Lamar unless you're just desperate at QB. But if I could trade Tillman and an RB for Olave or Flowers, 100%, all day.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I see what's going on here. He's saying I'm going to put an RB with Tillman because this guy is going to be desperate at RB.
Oh, he's starting Porter, Eckler, and that's you don't want to be starting those guys this week.
Yeah, I think that's a smart move. Go for it. And then also wondering, is it time to drop Dak probably for either of those guys?
Stafford would be my preferred.
Yep, Dak is officially a streaming option in 1 QB for me.
Yep, you can do this. All right, Rise, what is up? Said in this league, they want my Achane and Harrison to send Puka. Like just Puka? That's not enough.
No. Puka Achane, I feel like is fair. Just Puka for Achane, I think is fair. Right? High end wide receiver, like maybe low end wide receiver 1 for a low end RB 1. Fair. But you shouldn't have to. Why do you have to throw in Harrison? No way.
Right. Too much. Okay. Let's help Drew out. Drew D wants to know if DJ Chark, that DJ Chark, is going to be a difference maker when he comes back. Yes.
Magic 8 Ball says probably not.
I mean, I want to ask, the question is when was the last time he was a difference maker? Like besides college?
I don't even remember.
if you're in a best ball league, maybe, but even there, it's real dicey. Yeah, I can't see him making much of a difference other than like if the Chargers suddenly get down bad, and their defense is good. I don't think the Chargers are really going to be out or getting buried in very many games. So, yeah, difference maker? Don't think so.
No, wouldn't spend up $1 on Fab for him. All right, Dakota Rowe wants to drop in and say thanks. Almost put Harrison on the bench. Well, glad that you did start Harrison instead of McMillan and Tillman. All right, 6-2. Appreciate it. That's what we're looking for. That's
awesome.
All right, Harrison Mills.
All right.
Dropped Singletary for Warren. I get that the Steelers are playing tonight, was why we're getting questions about Warren specifically, though. But I think unless Warren does something extraordinary tonight, even Singletary. I know I said Singletary is droppable, but again, I think we can find somebody better. I don't know. Chris, would you do this?
I mean, it's whatever. Like both these guys are just like whatever. Sure. No strong opinion here.
They're essentially the same player to me. Maybe Warren's getting a little hyped up because he actually got over 50% of the snaps last week. But, yeah, Singletary or Warren, this is the same player to me. Don't really see a ton of upside in either one. Yeah, I'm not dropping Singletary in this case.
Now that I think about it, because you got both these guys are going tonight. It doesn't say, but I wondered, like, if you happen to need one of these guys for tonight's game, if you need points or something, like maybe you could do this. But even then, I don't think it really makes a big difference. But I really hope that's not what it is. Like, you need one of these guys to save your week. All right, let's get to Ligma Havers. So it needs 10 from the league neighbors to win in 2 leagues. 10 points, PPR. I would think so.
Let's hope. What did Brian say on the Discord? I think it was like 6 points, and he was like, "If Malik Neighbors can't get you 6 points in PPR, what are we even doing?" And I'm like, "Hey, be careful. This is fantasy football, but he should be able to get you 10." Although I will say, did he get you 10 last week? I don't think so, but he should.
Yeah, I mean, all it takes is one hit to the head, bam, concussion. But knock on wood, that don't happen. Yeah, if this is a normal game, he plays all 60 minutes of football. 10 points, you should have this in the bag in a PPR format.
Definitely should. And, for your sake, Ligma Havers, let's hope it happens. At least 10.
Yes.
Juan Nina, trade Cooper and probably Chuba for Puka.
I don't care if it's Chuba. I don't care if it's Chubb. I don't care if it's what's that can the Chuba. I don't know. Yeah, get Puka is what I'm trying. Just get Puka. Get Puka, 100%.
Yeah, Chubb or Chuba, it doesn't matter to me. If it's Chubb, Chuba, and AR, I trade all 3 of those guys for Puka, along with Cooper. Cooper was a disappointment this week, but I do think better days are ahead for him. But, yeah, for Puka, take that and run.
Yeah, definitely go Puka. Cooper, fine. Cooper didn't do much yesterday. It was surprising, right? You think he'd get better after being there for a week?
Right. I talked about this on the Takeaways, the 10 Lessons video tonight. I was looking in, like I go and I look at all like the snaps and the routes and everything on the teams and how they were used. He ran the fewest routes of any wide receiver again this week and only ran like one more route than Dalton Kincaid. It seems like they have him in that MVS role, like that X wide receiver, run a lot of vertical routes type of role. Now, maybe that's just because he's still learning the playbook and he's still getting up to speed. But my worry for Cooper now is, oh, hey, look, Keon Coleman looks like he's starting to figure out the NFL and look good 2 weeks in a row. And we know Khalil Shakir is one of the most, like, he doesn't have like he's not the most exciting guy, but he's like very dependable. And he's their slot guy. So it's like, is this it? Is this Cooper's role? Is just the X wide receiver who just runs straight, and every now and then he's going to catch that big home run and you're going to be like, yes. But most weeks he's going to be frustrating. I mean, maybe it's probably still too early to say for sure, but it's kind of how it feels right now.
I mean, I really hope the Bills didn't trade for Amari Cooper just so he could clear out space for Khalil Shakir to operate underneath. That's what happened yesterday. I mean, that's basically what it was. But yeah, I think we got to give this a little bit of time. But still, I'll take Puka every day over Cooper and Chuba or maybe Clubber Lang. Is that who that is? Chubber. We got Marcel Harms from Germany. Greetings. And here's the question. A 16-teamer, 1 running back, 1 receiver, 2 flex. Kyler, CMC Mason, MHJ, Olave, Higgins, Waddle, Flowers, Kraft. Could trade Higgins, Mason, and Flowers or Waddle for JJ.
Yeah. I mean, I'd certainly want JJ, but
it's a lot of depth to give up.
Higgins, Flowers, Mason kind of like a throw-in, right? We know now he's like a handcuff, so it's kind of like Higgins, Flowers, or Higgins, Waddle.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, 2 flex. That's it. You only start 1 running back, 1. I think in that kind of format where you're only starting 4, you're only starting 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, 2 flex. Give me. You don't need the depth. Give me JJ. Give me JJ in that format.
Yeah, if we're understanding that right, I would definitely say go JJ because, yeah, if you're only starting 4 of these guys, yeah, get your studs. Get your studs.
This is really, again, like you said, maybe we're not getting the whole picture here. If that's your starting lineup and this is your whole roster, it's interesting because 16 team, you know, immediately think it's deep, right? Deep, you need deep. And then you have Harrison, Olave, Higgins, Waddle, and Flowers. You have 5 really good receivers. Like, how does that happen? But then I see that you have basically 0 bench. If again, assuming this is your whole team. So maybe this is one of those weird, like, deep in terms of league members, but really shallow in terms of rosters.
Yeah.
If you legit only start 1 receiver every week, yes, do this because you have enough depth. And you know what? I'll just go ahead and flip flop. I'm back. I'm out on Higgins. I'm done. I should have known better. T. Higgins dead to me again for the 3rd time.
Don't do this because he's going to come back this week and go for 30, and then you're going to have to be back in on Higgins again.
Higgins, boom or injured.
Yeah, exactly. At least you know what? I'll say this though. The good thing about Higgins is at least it's like like okay, he's either playing and I'm starting him and I'm going to enjoy it, or he's out and I'm sitting him. It's better than having Jaden Reed, who you're like, well, it's the Jaguars. I have to play him. And then he gets you like 2 points. At least Higgins, like, is he playing or not? Okay, easy. Move on. At least you know that.
You're saying it could be worse, and it could always be worse.
Yes.
But
yeah.
I'll just give me the worst at this point. All right. You know what, Marcel? You can do this. You can do this. Any opinions, guys? Higgins, Mason, plus Flowers or Waddle? Would you rather give away Flowers or Waddle?
I think right now I'd rather give away Waddle, honestly. Flowers is the clear number 1.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with that. I will give up Waddle over Flowers.
Yep, that's what I'm thinking. All right, pull the trigger. There you go. Jody Bedard in an 8-teamer. Got Mason, HNB, Rob, Javonte. Pick up. Okay, because it's an 8-teamer. Pick up Ramondre, Tank, Madison, Chuba, Chase Brown, or a Tampa Bay back. I would go Ramondre. I
would go Ramondre too.
I think I'm going Ramondre here too. I don't mind Chase Brown either. He's been looking real good as of late, and Zach Moss is looking more and more and more relevant. So, but yeah, one of those 2 for sure.
Yep. I mean, obviously, you need somebody so you can do this. Jesus Zavala have Harris going against Neighbors, up by 8, cooked or not?
Ooh. Coin flip, I think.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're banking on Harris. If Harris scores tonight, I think you're safe. If he doesn't score, I think you're in trouble.
Yeah, you got to think Najee, even without a touchdown, Najee is usually good for like 8 to 10 in PPR. So let's say he doesn't score, he gets you 8. That's 16 points. certainly neighbors can do that, but also it's not a sure thing. So yeah, like he said, if Najee scores tonight, you're probably in the driver's seat. If not, it's going to be a sweat.
That's what it's going to come down to. These guys going to get into the end zone, assuming they either both do or don't. I mean, I would have to give the edge to Neighbors. Think he should be good for a bounce back week, but 8 points, I think it's pretty much a coin flip. That's all I can say. All right, let's see. You got a lot of the same people in the chat here trying to get some different questions. Okay, Quincy Davis. I don't know if you're picking like you need one for tonight. If that's the case, actually, I don't even know if it matters what this is for. Pickens or Wandale, Chris?
Pickens. Give me some actual upside.
Yeah. Wandale just does not have the upside with Neighbors in the full format. Even if it's PPR, it's closer, but it's still Pickens all day.
It's got to be Pickens. I know Wandale's getting a ton of targets, but far less valuable targets than Pickens.
I mean, the only way I might choose Wandale is if you're like, I need 3 points to win, and I'm like, okay, I don't even have to risk a Pickens 0. I know Wandale will give me at least 3, but that would be the only case.
Right. But remember, Pickens has been unlocked thanks to Russ. Russ is cooking. There you go. Molly Wop. What's up? Thinking of dropping Rome and Keenan Allen. Just get rid of those Bears for Tillman and Coleman.
I think I could drop Rome for one of those guys, definitely. I don't know about Keenan, I guess. I wasn't even – why do I still – like, I wasn't even on Keenan this draft season. I was, like, completely out on Keenan. But still, I'm like, no, you got to hold Keenan. And what has Keenan done? Like, he had that random 2-touchdown game in London, and I was like, dude, I don't know. I might just drop both these guys for these guys, honestly.
I haven't done the research on targets yet, but I felt like I heard Keenan Allen's name get called quite a bit. I would definitely drop Rome for either one of these guys. Keenan, though, I'd drop him for Coleman. I would not drop him for Tillman.
I want to stay in on Rome because I think he's going to continue to be involved. That's where I saw yesterday he got more first read targets. That's been going up a little bit. I know it looked rough. Caleb Williams looked rough most of that game. I think that's really more a testament to this Dan Quinn defense. I mean, they have stepped up big time. And yeah, it'll take some more time for Caleb to fully get there, but I don't want to drop Rome just Keenan, I'm on the fence about. I'm on the fence. But I would say now, given the fact that everything we already said about Tillman, probably wouldn't do it for Tillman just yet. Coleman is the maybe.
Yeah, I'm actually looking. Rome actually led the team in targets with 6, then Keenan 5, DJ Moore 4, and you're right, Pierre. Rome actually did lead first read percentage at 30. Keenan and DJ Moore were tied at 23. So, man, this Bears passing attack is another one I just kind of don't want to deal with anymore. Just don't want to deal with the ups and downs of Caleb. I just don't want to deal with it anymore. And Coleman, I know we weren't big on Coleman, but man, the last 2 weeks I'm like, okay, I'm in on Coleman. He's looking great, and he could be getting better. And like he's got Josh Allen, so just give me Coleman over Rome at this point, honestly.
Yeah, plus, I mean, if you've got the same 2 guys on the offense with Rome and Keenan, I think I do want to drop at least one of those guys. And yeah, Coleman's looked good the past couple weeks. I think I would continue to roll with him.
Yeah, we just dropped Keenan.
Keenan seems like the guy to drop. He's older, probably he's going to diminish while Rome should rise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to keep Rome. Like I said, I think you can do Keenan for Coleman, not have too many Bears invested there. Not sure if this is fantasy related. We have a viewer named Nate who needs some help here.
All right.
He said he was he had to tap out for a minute. He was feeling tired mid-presentation. People didn't like that. I don't know. Keith, any life advice here for Nate L?
Yeah, don't work as an NFL quarterback. Don't apply. Don't try out. Just don't do it. Unless, of course, you want to be Indy's quarterback, where apparently they're okay with this sort of thing. Yeah, Anthony Richardson needing rest, just that has to be one of the saddest things I think I've ever heard. Oh, I've run and now I need to tap out and get a play off. Like, are you kidding me? You're a quarterback. You don't do that. You're trying to lead your team. Like, he must have got reamed out in that locker room. At least I hope he did. But yeah, Anthony Richardson, please give us Flacco. Please just give us Flacco, Indianapolis. We're all hoping for it. Fantasy's hoping for it. Your fans are rooting for it. If you want any hope of the playoffs, but shockingly enough, Indianapolis is only a half game out from clinching or from being in the playoffs if they were today.
Yeah, are we gonna see Flacco back-to-back years take over and take the teams to the playoffs? Maybe.
If he's got Downs and Pittman there, I think he could.
And JT looked great, man. JT looks great this year when he's healthy.
Yeah, that's the thing that Colts offense looks great when Anthony Richardson isn't throwing the ball, or that's like the only thing. Like just don't do that, and you can score lots of points. Find someone else to throw the ball, but we'll see. They were a little non-committal and asked about AR starting next week. I think Steichen was like, well, we're evaluating everything, like the typical, right? We're going to look at everything. And then it sounded like they weren't leaning that direction.
That's not a good sign, because he could have easily just said, no, Anthony Richardson is still our quarterback. Let's just squash it. He didn't squash it.
But I feel like that saves the media, like it appeases them. So because then you get into those situations like with Deshaun Watson, where Stefanski was like, "No, he's our guy, and everyone's like, "What are you watching?" Like you're not even thinking about it. At least now he's not falling in that trap where he's like, "Okay, we're thinking about it," and it's like, "No, we're still starting him." You know what I mean? Like it would just make the vultures circle even more if it's like, "Okay, you're going with AR, you're the coach, this is on you." You know what I mean?
I don't know. I guess I see that. No, I definitely see that argument too. But to me, it's like he could have just squashed this and said, like, no, Anthony Richardson's our guy. He's our quarterback. Like the way Stefanski did.
Anthony Richardson is throwing at a worse completion rate than Tim Tebow. The worst quarterbacks you can think of. Jamarcus Russell, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones. He has thrown the worst completion percentage of any quarterback over the past 20 years, and then had to pull I need rest routine. Yeah, no, this is not how you win football games. This is not how you lead an NFL team anywhere other than to the number 1 draft pick.
Yeah, they're not getting that. There's plenty of contenders ahead of them for that top draft.
Yeah, they're not even going to get the number 1 pick this year. That's unfortunately. They're just good enough not to get it.
Right. All right. Thank you for your comment, though, Nate. Dustin Forsberg, was this performance by Olave a glimpse of what is to come with 2 different quarterbacks? Chris, this is buy low window on Olave closing.
Yeah, this is your last chance, because they're already saying Derek Carr is going to practice on Wednesday. He should play this week. Not that Derek Carr is Patrick Mahomes or anything, but for as much as I rail on Derek Carr, he's better than Spencer Rattler and Jake Hayner. But man, 13 targets, 40% first read percentage. It's who else is Alvin Kamara had 10? It was Chris Olave with 13, Alvin Kamara with 10. Nobody else with more than 4. This is it. This is the Saints offense. There's nobody else here, and even better, this defense is total trash, which means they're going to be losing and throwing all the time. Yeah, wheels all the way up on Chris Olave. Go get Chris Olave now if you can. Definitely.
Couldn't have said it better myself. There's Bub Means, Mason Tipton, this trio of tight ends that they have between Foster Moreau, Taysom Hill, and Juwan Johnson. Yeah, there is no hope for this team other than Olave and Kamara.
Yep. Go get those guys if you can.
Yeah, kept saying bye Chris Olave last couple of weeks. You still might be able to get him. Honestly, I didn't even realize until I just, like checked the box score. I didn't even realize that Olave did anything because the parts of that game I watched was Spencer Rattler throwing incomplete passes, and I saw Jake Hayner come in. Just kind of forgot about that game, but yeah, there you go. Get him if you can. Ray De La Torre. All right, down 38. Got neighbors and a defense. Which defense we're going with for tonight?
It's got to be the Steelers against Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, unless you've got some funky scoring where sacks get you a ton of points, which most defense scoring is only one, go Pittsburgh.
Got to be Pittsburgh. Better defense going against Daniel Jones. 38, that's a pretty steep hill to climb, but you never know. You never know. All right, Doug Fenton somehow pulled out a win with some duds here. Yeah, 3 running backs who did a lot of nothing. Somehow had 2 really great running backs on the bench, but I guess your opponent was worse. So congrats. All right.
Yeah. Hey, win is a win. Take it. Take it.
Ugly win is still a win. All right, quick question from Mario Vences. What is the format for the general settings of Yahoo? Like the default, I think it's half PPR. Am I right?
I think so. I think it's half PPR.
I'm not sure. I don't commission a Yahoo league, so.
I think it is. I technically have a team in Yahoo, like a public league that I draft just so I can go look at like the player stats. I don't really check that league. I think I set the lineup once in a while, but I think it is. But Mario, what you do is check is try to do a little quick math yourself. Well, first of all, I should say in the settings, but you can't find the rules. Just look for a player who didn't do a whole lot. Try to add up the number of points and yards. Let's just find somebody who doesn't have a touchdown and just see if you can figure out. PPR means they get a point for every catch. So if it looks like they're making a point for every single reception that they had, then it's PPR. If it's half, then it's half. If it's nothing at all, they only get points for yards and touchdowns, and that's standard. So that's a quick breakdown of what that means. All right, let's see. This is an interesting one. Quincy. Drop Jennings, who is on bye next week, for Ridley.
I do not want to fall for this, but
I mean, I suppose it depends on how much you need to win this week, because, Jennings is obviously going to give you a goose egg this week. Same for Wilson for Stafford. I think I would do that by default anyway, unless Wilson has a massive, massive game tonight. But yeah, if I'm dropping Jennings for Ridley, how much are we believing in Mason Rudolph with the Ridley connection? Or when Will Levis comes back, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I want Jennings unless I need a win to stay alive this week. Like if I'm staring at 2-6, sure. If I'm staring at anything better than that, I'm not dropping Jennings for Ridley.
Yeah, and I'm definitely taking Stafford over Russ.
I'd wait to see the game tonight before I make that decision. I mean, obviously you can't pick up Stafford right this minute, but barring a 30 points blowout, I'll drop Russ for Stafford.
I mean, I think even if Russ cooks tonight, I know Stafford's going to cook with a healthy Puka and Cup. I have no reservation. Like, I know he's going to cook every week. I'm just going to take Stafford
Agree.
no matter what.
Yeah, I would pick Stafford. Jennings, Ridley. I know. Is it possible to be kind of in the middle here? Like either I'm not all in on Ridley, but I'm not completely out either because I was in on Ridley and then I had to, of course, logically just made sense. Got to be out on Ridley until it's not logical because what's logical in football these days? So I think it was a combination of those things. Yes, they forced the ball to him early. Yes, there was the Lions secondary. They just made a point of targeting the hell out of Ridley for one game. they'll still target him a lot. So I think you have to pay attention, is what I said, picking up. You can't just ignore a guy who's clearly the number one receiver on his team and clearly going to get a ton of targets, but you also just can't assume that he's startable every week. So long story short, I would probably keep Jennings, actually.
Yeah. I mean, Jennings still should be the number 2 wide receiver in San Francisco when he comes back. And just give me the wide receiver 2 with Brock Purdy. Then we saw Calvin Ridley as the clear number 1 wide receiver for 2 weeks, and it wasn't pretty.
Yeah, and I mean, if the Titans play the way football the way they want to play it, they want to be a defensive team and grind out with the run with Pollard and Spears. They're not going to want to throw too much, and they had to because they were getting blown out in all phases of the game last week. Offense, defense, special teams. The Lions were pretty much scoring at will on them.
Yes.
Yeah, they had to play catch up, hence the targets for Ridley. Mason Rudolph actually did look better throwing the ball than Will Levis did. So, I mean, maybe there's a little hope there, but I wouldn't risk it. I wouldn't even bother. I'm taking Jennings.
Right. Yeah, I would just say, in general, having the number 2 receiver on a good offense is better than the number 1 receiver on a bad offense, for the most part. So probably just hold here. All right. We have a little bit more time. Get some questions for the end of week 8. And maybe even got something for the beginning of week 9. So people like to look ahead. Let's probably the best thing. I know, Chris, you're not like a diehard Commanders fan, but I think we all agree this is probably the best thing of week 8. Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
Hail Mary. Hail to the Commanders. And Trone said that play won him his week. His winning percentage chance went from 12 to 91. Wow.
Nice. That was huge. That was awesome. Awesome.
All right.
That is fantastic.
I mean, worst way to lose is a Monday night against a kicker or defense. Best way to win would probably be on a Hail Mary when you're on the side.
For sure.
Actually, wouldn't the worst way to lose be a stat correction? I've had that happen to me once, and it cost me a championship and $400.
That would be the worst way to lose. And I did see there was a stat correction this week. Darnell Mooney, a catch that was ruled for Darnell Mooney actually went to Bijan Robinson. So that's like a 3-point swing for both guys because that's a reception, and I think it was like if
I'm remembering, I think it was like an 8-yard pass or something like that.
Okay, so it's like a 2-point swing, but that could be huge, right? You win by like 1, and all. Yeah, that could definitely have done it. So yeah, that would be the worst way.
All right, that's true. I think that would be the worst because you don't find out until like Tuesday when you already think you won.
Yeah. Right.
Jackson Boss got a question here. Trade Brian Robinson. All right, let's see why. Have Terry and Gibbs and Chubb, Madison, Tillman, Hopkins on the bench. Explore. Well, I guess it never hurts to explore the trade market. What are your general thoughts on Brian Robinson? And, does this feel like a guy you want to move on from or keep as far as midway through the season now?
So I actually sold Brian Robinson last week with sold him for Amari Cooper, and that's looking like a mistake. I like Brian Robinson, but I think he is a little on the touchdown dependent side. Your running back room, Chubb, Madison, Tillman, Hopkins. I'm kind of wondering what the rest of your roster looks like. Because Brian Robinson is hands down a RB2 starter every week, and if you've got Gibbs, that's a good room. I wouldn't want to be starting Chubb, Madison, if I can help it. Brian Robinson didn't exactly have a great game this week either, so I'm not sure what the trade market for him is going to be. I would hold Brian Robinson, at least for right now. Wait for him to have a better game than what he had before, at least initially, plus with your running back room. If this is it for your running backs, I would hold Brian Robinson.
Yeah, I have no reason to trade Brian Robinson. I know he wasn't great this week, but he's mostly been solid. But the Commanders' offense, he just couldn't find the end zone yesterday and tell that Hail Mary, of course. I think Brian Robinson will be fine. I mean, look, if somebody is really high on Brian Robinson and willing to give you somebody really good for him, I mean, of course, take it. But he's not a guy I'm looking to sell. He's just more of a hold for me.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. You're seeing your other RBs, Chubb, Madison. I don't really want to have to start those guys every week. At some point, Chubb will be more startable, but I'd rather have Brian Robinson. So, yeah, I got no reason to trade him, like you said. Daniel Hart started Bucky over Chuba. Okay. Lad over Worthy. That's a big win. Tolbert, thanks to your advice on Sunday morning. All right. There you go. Got the W. Love and Higgins. Yeah, both crapped out. So just a big thanks. All right. Congrats, Daniel.
Well done. Well done.
Awesome stuff.
Look, we're not going to always get it right, but I think for the most part, hopefully we'll make those smart decisions. Man, Worthy. And look, D-Hop didn't really even get involved that much this game. I know Worthy technically scored. Like, not that it really made a big difference for fantasy. I was on the fence with this. In fact, and let me remember, I don't think I did. You know, at the end of the waiver video, I do the cut list now. And I'd say, okay, here's some guys that you probably have or you may have that you can move on from. I had Xavier Worthy in there. And I took him out last second. I think he's borderline droppable. I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't want to drop. The thing is, like, I just don't want to drop these rookies because, like, remember Rashee Rice wasn't doing a whole lot last year. Not every rookie can come in and just right away, you know, be good and be productive. If Rashee Rice and Hollywood Brown was healthy, I'd say, like, yeah, cut Xavier Worthy. Like, he has no path here, but, like, there's still a path, and he still has upside. Like in shallower leagues, 8-10 team leagues, yeah, you can probably cut Xavier Worthy. But I think 12 or deeper, I still want to hold him. Because what if he does start cut? Like, remember, Keon Coleman looked like a guy you could cut, and now the last 2 weeks, it's like, wait a minute, maybe Keon Coleman is starting to get adjusted to the speed of the game. Maybe he's getting adjusted to, you know, the offense, Josh Allen. So I don't want to cut a guy like Worthy if I don't have to.
Yeah, I am kind of more in Pierre's camp with Xavier Worthy. I don't see him. He reminds me an awful lot of John Ross. Sure. One of these speed guys that's occasionally going to go off, but good luck predicting that. He's not a guy that I think I can rely on for getting consistent targets or catches every week. I think he's a little more viable in like a non-PPR league maybe, but after full PPR, I think he is droppable in 8 and 10 man rosters. 12 man, dicey. I would not fault anybody for dropping him there either. Sure, he had a nice game this week, but like I said, I think he's going to be very, very boom bust. He doesn't have the same profile that Rashee Rice had. He's a big, strong guy who can catch some screen passes. And, we're just not seeing that reliability out of Worthy whatsoever. I mean, sure, he could house a screen pass, but he's just not catching balls that way either. What's the word? He's just very, very boom bust for me, and I want to talk anymore.
Yeah, that's like I said. I was right there. I had him in there. I was gonna say drop Worthy, and it's like, let's give it a week. Let's see. But yeah, I think it's okay if you do this. I'm not saying you have to drop Worthy, but yeah, I'm just saying it won't be much longer before I'm like, all right, man, this is gonna be a guy that's going forward. I'll be like, okay, best ball, sure, that's it, but probably not reliable enough. I mean, dude, we're still waiting for Christian Watson to break out. Like, what's up with that? This is not any better. The difference between Keon Coleman and Xavier Worthy, for the comparison, is Keon Coleman can make contested catches. Xavier Worthy really won't. You know, Keon Coleman can beat press coverage. Xavier Worthy can't. Worthy needs to be wide open. He can get wide open, but it's just going to be few and far in between. So that's my issue. But look, you do have someone on this side here, Nate, saying it's true. It does take time. The Chiefs system, Andy Reid, thinking he could break playoffs. I mean, if you think he can break the playoffs, then yeah, definitely keep him. I'm not sure I'm there, but we'll see.
That's just the thing. It's like maybe he won't, maybe he won't. But if he does, you know what I mean? Like, it always depends who you're picking up. But like, if you're dropping Xavier Worthy to go pick up, let's say, like, I don't know who's some of the waiver wire ads this week. I don't know.
Well, Cedric
Not
Tillman.
great.
Cedric Tillman or Xavier Worthy?
I mean, I guess right now I probably would have to go Cedric Tillman.
So
yeah, you got to go Cedric Tillman, but man, I don't think Cedric Tillman is going to break the playoffs. So
Probably not.
We'll see.
Probably not. Here's the true test: Calvin Ridley versus Xavier Worthy.
Nah, I'm just holding Xavier Worthy.
All right.
Just holding Xavier Worthy.
Same.
All right, we do have a couple more super chats before we get out of here. Maurice Copeland saying got offered CMC for Nick Chubb.
Take that and run.
Yeah, you got it. Like, I don't understand, like, why somebody probably drafted CMC, has held him for 8 weeks, and now when they're like, CMC is going to be back after the bye, now they're trading CMC? Yeah, I don't get that. You got to take this and run. I will say Chubb, not that he was good yesterday, he certainly wasn't, but he's already taken over this backfield pretty much. And I don't know if that's going to change significantly when Jerome Ford comes back, but what are we really expecting from Nick Chubb rest of the season? I mean, he's not going to be CMC level good. Even a healthy Nick Chubb isn't going to be CMC level good. So, yeah, you got to take this for sure.
No, and look, as much as anybody likes Nick Chubb, I like Nick Chubb as a runner. I'm sure he's a good dude, whatever. Nick Chubb has never been CMC level, like ever. And we got Nick Chubb coming off that injury. So you have to take CMC. You have to here. And as a follow-up, he said was also offered CMC and Tay for Walker. Somebody just really is trying to just get rid of CMC, apparently. Which one do you like better?
Take CMC for Chubb. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. That one you're losing pretty much nothing of value and gaining a potential league winner. This, with what do we expect from Devontae Adams going forward too? I'm not convinced he's going to be anything more than the wide receiver 2 on the Jets that look like a raging dumpster fire at this point. Take the Chubb deal and run.
Yes.
I'm sadly not convinced Devontae Adams isn't total dust.
Yeah.
Honestly. He's played almost half his snaps with the Jets out of the slot. So yesterday he played a ton of snaps out of the slot with Lazard out, which means he didn't even get Christian Gonzalez in that game. 6.6 ADOT. That's his ADOT with the Jets. He can't win vertically anymore. Look, it happens to the best of them.
Father Time beats us all eventually.
Yeah, I think we really need to make the dust level chart so we can figure out where is he on the dust, is like a 6 or a 7, something like that. And again, anybody got some graphic skills here, visual graphics, let us know. Work on that. All right, last one. This is for tonight. Let's do Joe Rivak, Najee or Tyrone Tracy to get the dub. Keith, who are you going with?
Najee by a mile here. Starting running back versus Tyrone, maybe the backup, but going up against the Steelers front 7, I'll take my chances with Najee.
Yeah, definitely got to go Najee here. I think the only hope for Tracy is if the Giants are getting blown out and having to throw a lot, but I don't feel like the Steelers are going to, like you said, this Giants defense actually looks good this year, so I don't think the Steelers are going to blow them out tonight. You got to take the starting running back to Najee.
Yes, definitely take Najee in this one. Don't know how many points you need, but whatever it is, hope you get the dub there, Joe. So good luck. Speaking of tonight, you also have about 30 seconds left to get the free pick of Russell Wilson. Don't worry. Even if you don't get this one in, guess what? There's going to be another one, a different one. You sign up for Underdog at any time, you get a free pick. New customer, get this as soon as you sign up. Make sure you use code ENDGAME when you do sign up, because it gets you the freebie, whatever it might happen to be that particular day. plus all the goodies they already give away. Boost overs almost over, and you get up to $1,000 bonus cash. So, guys, if anyone out there for some reason hasn't tried Underdog yet, it's still a good time to do it. All right, we're out. Another game is getting ready to start, and of course, you're probably going to want to watch that. So we will see you again tomorrow. Big shout out once again to Keith joining us for the Monday night stream, helping answer your questions. And anybody here who isn't already in the Discord, you can get some good advice from him and everyone else there as well. Oh, got a last second run. Hold on. It always happens. Hustle Kings wants to know, would you drop Shakir and Rico for Downs and Mostert? Okay, well, I guess we can do those separately.
Go for it, Keith.
I would, especially with if we're not getting a committed answer for Anthony Richardson starting, I want Josh Downs. He looks phenomenal. He's winning on big boy routes. He's getting open. He's a receiver I want. He's a huge upgrade from Shakir. Rico for Raheem, it's probably a lateral, but you're getting an upgrade at wide receiver. It just all depends on who's throwing Downs the ball. Downs can produce with Anthony Richardson, but it's always going to be boom bust if he's the quarterback. If the Colts do the smart thing and start Flacco rest of the season and let Anthony Richardson sit and learn, which I think he needs, yeah, Downs will definitely contribute a hell of a lot more than Shakir.
Yeah, I think I do this on both counts just for the hope. Just for the hope that they do go to Flacco at some point. I know Downs had that nice game, but man, it was two big kind of broken plays, which seems to be the only time Anthony Richardson ever completes a pass is when the defense just breaks down and the guy's wide open. It's like, oh, I can hit that guy. He's just standing there all alone. But like Keith said, I think Downs has more upside than Shakir, especially if Flacco gets to start. And we can't feel good about Rico right now. I mean, now Dalvin Cook in the mix. Not that Dalvin Cook definitely high on the Dusty scale, no doubt about it. Raheem Mostert, look, he's going to get chances to score. I'll take Raheem over Rico for sure.
Yeah, Rico, I know it was an illness or whatever. I don't think it matters. He's just a easy drop. I'll say this, if you don't need to, I don't think you have to do either both or none. I assume you could just do one. I would say drop Rico and get Downs. Leave it at that because I want both those receivers. I don't want to drop Shakir right now. All right. That gets us out of here. We will see you guys. And, of course, check out all the videos still coming out. Start Sit. About to get filmed right now.